Okay, for those of you who missed the first day of class where we were looking at our cemetery lab, the College Board lab, I want to give you some instruction, and that way you can get caught up. Okay, so if you pull up the template from Canvas, it's going to look like this. There's 4 tabs, actually 1, 2, 3, 4 tabs at the bottom. This first tab is where you're going to put your 2 graphs. So you're actually going to create 2 graphs and put them here. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. This one is just a way, it's actually empty for you. It's a way to understand how we got the data we did. So I'm not too particularly worried about this one. If you're not able to do this page, this was just sort of a warm-up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the actual page where we do the graphs, which is the next tab, the 3rd tab, and that's where we're going to start our discussion. Now, all of the things I'm going to do here are all in these instructions. So I'll be kind of referring to them as we go along. Now, a survivorship curve, if you remember from our PowerPoint, is a graph of age in class on the x-axis and survivorship on the y-axis. So we have our age in class. We figured out the total number of deaths pre-1900 and post-1900. We separated them out into 2 tables. So we've got 610 deaths total in the cemetery for pre-1900, and we have 466 deaths in the cemetery from post-1900. The problem is, if I want to compare, which is kind of what this lab is about, I want to compare survivorship before the Industrial Revolution and after. And if I want to do that, here's my problem. I've got 610 people here and 466 people here. I want to liken it to if you had 2 football teams and one team had played 2 games in the season, the other had played 10. Could you really compare them? Probably not, because their game time is not the same. It's sort of the same with the populations. It's hard for us to compare when they're that much different apart. Like 30% difference. So what we're going to do is called standardize. We're going to standardize the number of deaths in each population to 1,000. So if you come over here, what we're saying is, if I have, let's say, DX, so that's over here, 99 deaths to 610, how many deaths would that be per 1,000? If I rearrange everything, this is the equation I'm going to put in my computer for DXS, which is here, which is going to be equal, I'm going to click on the DX cell here, times by 100, and divide by 610. All right, so let's do that. So this is going to be equal. I'm going to click on this cell. Times is asterisk, 1,000 divided by 610. Enter, right? Now, the next thing I want to do is calculate the survivorship. So the way survivorship curves work is that you start with a population of 1,000, because I standardized everything to 1,000. And then every time a certain part of the population dies, we've got a new value. And then some more, a new value. Some more, a new value. So basically, I'm going to take the survivorship of the previous class, which is this one, and subtract the deaths in the previous class. So this is going to be equal this cell minus this cell. Enter. This one is probably not going to autofill. Remember, if it doesn't autofill, you just hover over the little blue dot and click and drag, and it will autofill for you. This should go to 0. That'll give you an indication that you did it right. We're not going to use mortality for our graphs, but we are going to do the calculation for use later. Mortality is down here. It's DXS divided by LX. Well, DXS is here, LX is here. So we're going to say equals DXS divided by LX. Enter and autofill. Okay. What you're going to do now is you're going to do the same thing with this one. Let me erase this so that we can do this one. You're going to do this one in exactly the same way, except for one thing. In this case, the number of deaths, it's 466 total. So we're not going to divide by 610. Remember, you can always click on a cell if you forget what you did. If I click on this cell and I go up here, it tells me exactly what I did. I took this cell, which is D5, multiplied by 1,000 divided by 610. All right, so we're going to do something similar down here, but instead we're going to say equals, again, this cell times 1,000 divided by, this time, 466, enter. And autofill. The rest is going to be the same. I've got equal, the cell above it, minus the cell beside, enter. This one doesn't autofill, probably because it's the second cell, so it's not autofilling. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. And then for mortality rate, again, it's equal this cell divided by this cell. And notice it's already kind of knows what you want to do for that. Okay, so now I have my 2 bits of information. So what I want to do is I want to create one survivorship curve. But if I want to compare pre-1900, post-1900, then I want both curves on the same graph. So that's the new thing that we're going to learn today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this. Then I'm going to hold the control key down while I'm clicking on this one. Right? Then I'm going to go up here to insert chart. Now, this is kind of half a histogram, which is not really what I want. Let me pause the video here real quick and extend this for us. I don't really want the histogram form because we're going to be looking at trends of 2 sets of data on the same graph. And you can imagine 2 sets of bar graphs on the same. That's a huge mess. So we're going to go over here to setup, and we're going to do the smooth line curve. We're going to click on that, and it should look like this. I've got survivorship on the y-axis and my age range on the x-axis. Okay, what I want to do now is, if this is pre-1900, I want to add post-1900. Now notice that my x-axis on this chart and my x-axis on this chart are identical. So all I really need to add is the y data from here. And the way you do that is you go down here to add series. You click on add series, and this is saying, what cells do you want? Select a data range. So I'm going to click on that, and you should get this little box. So then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, I want this data range. So I'm going to click on that, okay, and then I should get the graph like this. Now, the next thing I need to do is I need to double click on here. I want to change this to pre-1900, and then I want to change this one to post-1900. Enter. And there's my graph. Now what I want to do next is click on it, get these 3 dots, click copy chart, and I want to put my graph here. All right, because both of my graphs is what I'm going to grade. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to go over to the last one. Now you've got 4 different graphs. You're going to do exactly the same thing. Notice these are exactly the same as you did before. But now what we're going to do is do all the calculations. I'm going to graph this one first, and then I'm going to add this column, and this column to the graph.